So, Brad, I'm curious to follow up on Tennessee. You see Tennessee in week 2 against BYU. BYU did not look good against Utah. Do you think that just opening Tennessee at -1 was an overreaction to that week 1?
In that regard, and did look at. And this was actually surprising to me because I wondered and did a little theory. How did teams do as the week after as a losing outright as a big favorite? So 4-point or more. I thought, hey, they'll have a chip on their shoulder. Market will throw them in the trash. It's got to be positive EV. No, it's opposite. It's negative. They only cover 43% of the time. So that has me kind of – I wanted to take Tennessee. I wanted to – it has me
Fox Sports Radio 5 days a week on Straight Outta Vegas. You can hear it at 3 o'clock every day on 9:20 The Game. All right, rapid fire time on a bunch of games, and then we'll kind of come back to the Thursday night game and also a Friday night college football game. But Saturday college slate, Army and Michigan. What'd you make of week 1 from Army? Michigan's laying 22.
Yeah, I downgraded both teams a little bit. Army especially. I mean, Army almost lost outright. Now, you could say they're looking ahead to Michigan, but, I mean, you're trained as a service academy. It's all about the now and not about looking forward or anything. So I don't think Army is as good as what they've been the last couple of years. At least that's what I saw week 1. With Michigan, I bet Michigan last week. It was a big line move. And I'll say this, they didn't come close to covering, although the middle portion of that game, they kind of looked the part after an early fumble and after giving up a late touchdown late. If you just look at the middle 3.5 quarters of that game, they look pretty good, especially considering they were without 3 key starters. Most of those guys are going to be back this week. This is that typical. I mean, did you see what Army did to Oklahoma last year? They almost beat them. They're getting 3+ touchdowns against Michigan. I got to go with Army. I'd be very careful backing Army in this one. They seem like a very popular public dog, which seems to me that's always loses more often than not.
Cincinnati and Ohio State. About Ryan Day and the play down the stretch by the offense. Ohio State laying 16 against former Ohio State coach and Luke Fickell.
Yeah, I'm a little bit because it actually goes back to the Rose Bowl where they jumped out to a big lead. And I thought, I'm not down on Ryan Day, but I'm down on laying a lot of points with Ryan Day because it seems he's being a little, conservative. Maybe we're going back to Trestle ball for the Buckeyes instead of what they did under Urban Meyer. But it's certainly impressed in the first 10 minutes of the game when they're up 28-0 and already covering the point spread. But, conservatism in this one, I do expect the game to be close because I do think Luke Fickell has a chip on their shoulder. I do think those Cincinnati do. And I think Cincinnati legitimately is a good team. But don't believe me, go pop in the tape and what they did to UCLA last week. So I'm leaning with the Bearcats here.
Yeah, I don't think that score shows at all how Cincinnati dominated UCLA last week. Just a couple of really poorly timed turnovers for the Bearcats. All right, let's pick it up with UCLA then. And they are laying in most places, started at 8, down to 7.5. Most places laying that against San Diego State. It would be easy to downgrade UCLA pretty hard after what you saw last week. How are you looking at this game?
I lean with them, though, this week. I mean, the biggest downgrade is I had high expectations for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but let's be frank, he was horrific. I mean, 8 out of 26 with 4 turnovers. He was the biggest problem for UCLA in the game. You looked at Josh Kelly sitting out for the Bruins. That was a big negative, but his backup played well, and I thought in certain spots, defense at least showed something to me. San Diego State, it looks like the same old Aztecs here. It's fine. Offense, just stodgy as ever. I would lean with the Bruins here minus the 7.5.
Scott Frost, one of those second-year coaches who flopped in Week 1 ATS, now laying 4 against Nebraska, laying 4 against Colorado.
Yeah, I love Nebraska here. I get it. They looked really horrible last week, but I trust Scott Frost. He's got a track record of teams making improvement, and I'll just try. Don't believe me? Well, when Scott Frost was playing quarterback for Nebraska, Colorado was a pretty big rival. And if you go back to last year's game, which was the opening game for Scott Frost, there's a lot of emotion. Nebraska dominated Colorado everywhere but the scoreboard. I think when you flip on the game this upcoming Saturday afternoon, You're going to see half the crowd in red. I don't think that's being properly priced in the marketplace. And I think Nebraska's offense will have success against the questionable Colorado defense. I bet one of my biggest bets of the week is Nebraska minus the point.
About 2 minutes left, Brad. Brad Powers with us, so let's go rapid fire. Clemson 17 against Texas A&M.
Too many points. I took the Aggies. There's not going to be an intimidation factor from Texas A&M. That's usually the case when people are playing Clemson. Not going to see it from the A&M players, and you're certainly not going to see it. Jimbo Fisher's very familiar with game prep and planning for Clemson. I like the Aggies.
LSU 6.5 against Texas.
All summer, the most overrated team. And I'm kind of hedging my bet, but there's too many points for Texas to be getting in this game. I don't trust Ed Orgeron in a big game. I'm leaning with Texas here plus the points, and of course Tom Herman, really good, the head coach for Texas in the underdog role.
Oregon 24 against Nevada.
Number seems right to me. I'm going to pass. I mean, it's a very intriguing handicap. On one end, you got a team coming off a disappointing last-second loss. On the other side, you got a team coming off of that's jubilant, that's happy they got a last-second win. It's a pass for me at 24.
3 games on the left coast before we close out with Thursday Night Football. USC 1 against Stanford.
I bet the under. 2 backup quarterbacks, and if you watch both games in the second half, they went to those backup quarterbacks, completely different offenses, much more conservative. I like the under in that one between Stanford and USC.
Total right now 45. Fresno State off of that USC game, catching 3 at home against Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, you've gone broke if you've gone against Fresno State here. Last 30 games, Fresno State 24-6 against the spread. Jeff Tedford's pretty good. I'll take the Bulldogs there.
Hometown 1.5 against Ark State.
Yeah, I kind of like Arkansas State, guys. I mean, power rings say wrong team favorite here. I know it's arguably one of the most important games of the entire season for UNLV. I'm not going to placate to the hometown listeners. I do like Arkansas State there, though.
What was the pregame? Was there a consensus straight out of Vegas pick for the Bears laying 3 tonight, Thursday Night Football against the Packers?
We're on the Packers plus the 3 here. And also look for a lower scoring start to it. Both quarterbacks didn't play in the preseason, under 23.5 in the first half. Packers for the full game plus 3.
We got a few extra seconds. I don't know if you discussed all the Antonio Brown drama. Where are you on the Raiders in terms of season-long predictions? Fade time?
Let's just put it this way. As the news happening, I'm with Fez, and I said, hey, can you get me down on some more season under the win total for the Raiders? I don't think I have enough on the under, so that was basically the game plan there.